You are one of 1,000. You hit the water on a June morning and the river is warm and brown and moving, and you don't know where you are. You don't know that you're in the wrong country, the wrong continent, the wrong ecosystem entirely. You just know the water is 26 degrees, which is close enough to home, and there is something moving about 3 feet to your left. You flick toward it. You don't see it clearly. You don't need to. The first bite lands, then another. And then the water around you changes. Not violently, not all at once, but fast enough that whatever was there a second ago isn't anymore. You are a red-bellied piranha. You are about 25 centimeters long, roughly the size of a human hand, with a jaw built like a bear trap, and interlocking triangular teeth that can shear through muscle and bone in a single bite. Back in the Amazon, where you belong, you are not the apex predator. You are prey. Caimans eat you. River dolphins eat you. Large catfish eat you. The whole reason you swim in a shoal of 1,000 is because alone, you are a snack. Together, you are something else entirely. But there are no caimans here. No river dolphins. No animals that know what you are or what you're capable of. The Mississippi River has never seen anything like you, and it has absolutely no idea what's coming. The first week is about figuring out the river. The Mississippi is not the Amazon. The Amazon is warm and dark and slow in the shallows. The Mississippi has current, real current, strong enough that you spend the first 2 days just learning to hold position without burning all your energy fighting the water. The silt is thick and brown, though, which is good. The kind of murk that swallows a shoal of 1,000 whole in open water. You spread out naturally. Not all at once, but in clusters of 20 to 30, the way piranhas move in the wild. Not one giant swarm, but a network of smaller groups, each hunting its own stretch of water. When one group finds food, the others feel it. When one group panics, the others know. The first real meal happens on day 3. A school of gizzard shad comes through. 40 fish, moving tight the way baitfish do when they're nervous. They have good reason to be nervous. You hit them from 3 sides, and it is over in under a minute. Not the Hollywood version where everything erupts. Clean, coordinated, efficient, and when it is done, there is nothing left but scales drifting down through the current. The Mississippi has 119 species of fish. It just lost a meaningful number of one of them. By week 3, the river's regulars have noticed something is wrong. They just don't know how wrong yet. Alligator gar are the apex fish of this river. 8 feet long, armored with scales like chainmail, unchanged for over 200 million years. They are not used to being challenged by anything. The gar finds one of your groups in a backwater eddy near the bank. It comes in fast from below, the way gar hunt, and it takes one of your shoal in a single strike. Clean ambush. The rest of the group scatters for about 4 seconds, and then they come back. 30 fish in a ring around something 4 times their size. The gar holds still for a moment that must feel very long, and then it leaves, because a fish that has survived since the Cretaceous did it by knowing when a situation stopped making sense. But here is what the gar does next. It doesn't come back, not to that eddy, not to that bank. It relocates 2 kilometers upstream and changes its patrol route. One encounter, and a creature that has ruled this river for over 200 million years moves house. That is what 1,000 of you does to the established order. You don't have to win every fight. You just have to make the math work against whoever's running it. The fishermen notice before the news does. It is a Wednesday morning, mid-July. A man is working a backwater channel south of Memphis, the same stretch he's fished every summer for 11 years. He hooks a decent largemouth, maybe 2 kilograms. Good fish. He starts reeling it in. By the time it breaks the surface, half of it is gone. Not damaged, not bitten once. Half of it, gone. Pulled clean to the spine somewhere in the 12 feet between the hook set and the surface. He never sees what took it. He stares at what is left on his hook for a long moment. Then he reels in his line, packs his gear, and does not go back in the water. That story gets told at the marina, then at the diner, then online, where people call it an exaggeration because they don't know what is sitting in the channels right now and they have no framework for it. And the human brain doesn't update its threat model until the threat is close enough to be undeniable. It is about to get undeniable. August is when it stops being subtle. The water is at its warmest, 28 degrees in the shallows, and your numbers have held strong through the summer. The shoals have learned the river's rhythms, which channels run deep at dusk, where the shad concentrate near the sandbars, which backwaters are warm enough to hold overnight. And something else is happening in the water that is harder to describe. In certain stretches, in the warmest shallows where your numbers are thickest, there are moments, brief, random, unrepeatable, where something flashes near the surface. Not large, not obvious, just a disturbance in water that should be still, turning clear water into something you can't quite see through anymore. Locals who fish this stretch start noticing it in early August. They don't have a name for it yet. They just know that certain sections of river look different now, look wrong somehow, and they can't explain why. There is a sandbar on the western bank, maybe 40 meters long, where people have been swimming all summer. Kids, mostly, wading out to knee depth in the afternoon. The river here is broad and calm, and the sandbars feel safe. They have always felt safe. 200 of your shoal move into that stretch on a Thursday afternoon, following a skipjack school that pushed through at midday. They settle into the silt about 15 meters from the sandbar, invisible in the murk, holding still. A boy, maybe 10 years old, wades in to ankle depth. Something hits his foot, fast, deliberate, and he yanks his leg back out of the water. Half a second too slow. Something breaks the surface exactly where his ankle just was. There is a clean cut across the side of his ankle. Small, the kind that takes a moment to understand before it starts bleeding. Not deep, but real. His father has him by the arm before he can process what happened. Nobody goes back in. The skipjack school erupts at the surface 15 meters out, the water boiling in 6 directions at once as the shoal beneath them adjusts. And the sandbar, which a moment ago had 30 people on it, starts emptying. Nobody runs at first, then one person does, then everyone does. The water keeps moving for another 30 seconds after the last person is out of it. That flat, familiar, completely ordinary sandbar, alive with something that has no name in this river and no business being here at all. The beach does not refill that day. It does not refill that week. By September, the damage is spreading in ways that are harder to see but easier to feel. Gizzard shad numbers in a 40-kilometer stretch are down by roughly half. That sounds like a fish problem. It is not just a fish problem. Largemouth bass hunt shad. When shad disappear, bass push into new territory looking for alternatives. Territories that other bass are already using. That pressure ripples outward, crowding smaller fish from their cover, pulling wading birds to unfamiliar flats where the hunting is thin. A great blue heron works a flat it has used for years. Nothing on the first pass, nothing on the second. On the third, it lifts off without striking and does not come back. And then the dogs. A man walks a retriever along the bank at dusk, the same route he runs every evening. The dog goes in the way it always does, chest deep, hunting the shallows by instinct. It comes back out immediately, stops on the bank, looks at the water, and refuses to go back in. Not panicked, not injured, just done. Just absolutely unwilling to go back into water that a minute ago was routine. The man looks at the river for a while. Then he walks home a different way. Animals don't have language for what changes in a place. They just stop going there. And when enough of them stop going there, the place itself becomes different, quieter, emptier, rearranged around an absence that nobody declared and nobody voted for. The deer that used to drink along the lower bank stop coming. The hoof prints pressed into the mud every morning for as long as this stretch of river can remember are gone. Entire sections of the Mississippi are quieter than they have been in decades. You didn't plan any of this. You're just hungry. And the river keeps reorganizing itself around the fact that you're here. And then October arrives, and the river starts taking it back. 1 degree, then 2. The 28-degree water that made summer yours begins losing heat the way wide rivers do, top to bottom, steady and without stopping. By late October, you are at 18 degrees. Your strikes slow. The skipjack you've been running down since June are suddenly faster, not because they've gotten faster, but because you've gotten slower. By November, the water is 12 degrees. Your body stops processing the hunger signal correctly. Prey swims past, and the reflex that should fire doesn't. The flathead catfish built for Mississippi winters start pressing in from the deep channels. The balance that held all summer, where your numbers kept them cautious, is tipping. The math is changing against you, and it is changing fast. The river doesn't fight you. It doesn't push back or reject you or treat you like something that doesn't belong. It just gets cold the way it always gets cold, the way it has gotten cold every November for thousands of years before you arrived. And cold is the one thing in this river that doesn't need to learn how to beat you. It already knows. You came in 1,000. By spring, a few hundred may survive in the warmest southern channels. Enough to matter. Enough to try again. Because here is the thing about 1,000 fish dropped into a river this size. You don't have to win permanently to be a problem. You just have to hold on long enough for the water to warm back up. And every summer you do, the river has less of what it used to have. Less shad, less routine, less of the particular safety that comes from a place where everything is exactly where it's always been and nothing unexpected lives in the shallows. Summer always comes back. And now the river knows what comes with it. If you want to see this simulation run south, into water that never hits 12 degrees, where there is no winter and no thermal ceiling, hit the like button and drop a comment with the ecosystem. Whatever location gets the most votes, that's where we drop them next. Subscribe so you don't miss it.